Tonight, what exactly will be declassified this week according to Q? And Bob Woodward's new book. Is it real or is it just another manufactured piece of the fake news? Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. For those of you who don't know, every episode starts the exact same way. I say thank you to all my subscribers because there's always new subscribers, always new people hitting that button. If you haven't already, please come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications. I don't even know if you guys realize how much that makes a difference, so thank you. Now, here we go. The first post from Q, if you guys want to get caught up to where we're at, here is the last post, the last few posts. If you guys want to see what's going on there, I really encourage you guys to come back here to the landing page and check out these last few videos. This one right here in particular will get you caught up to where we are right now. Going back, it'll get you caught up further and further back on the latest Q post. Now, if you scratch your head going, what's QAnon? You want to learn more about it? Please come here to this page and watch this video. This video is a great source of information. It's going to give you how to get involved, how to find the information, you know, what the etiquette is, what QAnon, the Great Awakening is, basically. A lot of great information in there, and I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. So that's just something I always like to do at the beginning to get you guys kind of caught up. Now, before we go through these latest Q posts, I want to give you guys a rundown of what we're going to cover in this video. It's not going to be the longest video in the world because there's only 3 posts and there's a few news stories I want to cover. But what we're going to look at is, quite simply put, the latest Q post where he gives us this new message and you know, kind of a funny little video that's kind of plays into what's coming, I would say. And we're going to look at Bob Woodward's new book out about President Trump and his White House and how it just seems to be another Omarosa type, Fire and Fury, Wolf type, you know, hit piece with no substantiated claims and just a lot of basically fabrications and rumors. But we're going to look at it anyway, and you guys are going to go ahead and make your own decision. Plus, stick around because near the end of this episode, we're going to talk about what happened with Jack Posobiec and One American News. Because in this latest report that I just found, it's been posted just today, I guess, or yesterday, to the One American News site. I guess they ran this whole story where Jack Posobiec goes out and finds some guy named, I'm not making this up, Microchip. And apparently we need to really focus on Microchip because he knows all of the answers about, you know, how Q's fake and how he's basically Q. And, you know, we really need to listen to this stuff. I don't know what's going on with Jack Posobiec, to be quite honest. I don't know if he's doing disinformation, if he's just trying, if he's deep state. All I know is that he was in the intelligence agencies or working in intelligence during the Obama administration. I don't trust him. I don't like him. And personally, you know what? He's a great reporter, but when it comes down to it, when I listen to all this malarkey that he puts out there without any verifications or validation, you know, besides to say, oh, my source shows me this message where we talked about, you know, how we're going to make Q. And you're like, okay, Jack, if that's the best you can do, then we're pretty much going to laugh at that and just move on because they don't refute anything. And we'll talk about that later. So we'll just get into that later. I'm going to save that for later. Okay, jumping into this first post here. This is the post we got on September 3rd, so a couple days ago, from Q, where it gave us this kind of message, right, where it says, both chambers, House, Senate in session tomorrow, where once there was dark, there is now light, Q. And it gave us these letters and numerical order to put them in, and it spells out D-class, D-E-C-L-A-S, which would be short for declassified. And the name of this picture, as titled by Q, is FISA 20. Well, Q says a week to remember. I believe, based off of this, that it would be fair to make the guess or you know, summation that what Q's saying is that the FISA, the 20 redacted pages from the Carter Page FISA warrant that was used to spy on President Trump and his campaign, illegally, mind you, because they withheld information from the judge who was rubber stamping, mind you, the warrant to spy on the presidential campaign of President Trump. So baffling to me how this is all kind of been suppressed for so long, but you know, these things take time and the system will work. We just have to trust in that. And now here we go. Q says a week to remember. That would, to me, be a signal that it's coming up this week, so we'll have to stay vigilant and stay aware. And like I said, there's not a lot of posts here, so we're going to go through these pretty quick. The next post is a link to the Reddit.com Great Awakening board. I mean, you guys all know what the Great Awakening board is, I'm sure by this point. It's a great source. Go there, do research, trust your own logic, do your own research, but go there and check it out. But here is, interestingly enough, this clip, and it's kind of hilarious. It's got, basically everybody's heads all superimposed. And I'm sorry I can't make it bigger. Well, actually I can. And we'll go ahead and play the video and without the sound, because it's just basically, it's like one of those make-a-wish games where like the football players bring a kid out there and they let him get a touchdown on the first play or something, but it's made as a joke because obviously all these people have had their heads superimposed, and then guess who comes in at the last second to save the day? President Trump. Yes, you saw it right there. And that was, in fact, a caricature of Hillary. So that is definitely what Q's pointing us to. I think it's kind of a joke, a playful post. And to me, that if Q's posted something like that, that means there's probably something coming that's going to be pretty big, in my opinion. Q says almost, and then an Anon replies it was at the 17-yard line, and obviously in this video, that's exactly where the tackle was made, basically at the 17-yard line. And Q says, what are the odds of that? They never thought she would lose. Q. Okay, not a lot to take from that. I think it's kind of a playful thing, and it's basically giving us an example of, basically what's going on here, what will happen. And we're all going to think Hillary's running for that touchdown, and it's so great, and the liberals and the left and the rhino right will all stand up and cheer and clap and welcome their, overlord, the Führer, Hillary Clinton. And like literally, it'll be something that just comes out of nowhere. That's kind of my read on it. I'm sure you guys can read it a million different ways. And those are the only posts we have new to report. So obviously, like I said, that is not the most. There's not a whole lot of information to really get into otherwise. Now, but there is, as far as news goes. As far as Q goes, that's pretty much it. But now let's get into the news and what is going on. Now, first we have this Bob Woodward book that's been put out, and it's, to me, it's like, have they not realized by now that these Democratic operatives are just putting these books out to effectively change the news cycle? Because they basically lost their access to a lot of their, their secret satellites and their information and their, access to databases and servers. So when you remove that, what do they have left? All they have left is, Bob Woodward writes a book about how President Trump said mean things and called his staff an idiot, or his staff called him an idiot, and he called them stupid. And it's like literally, to me, what this Bob Woodward book, basically, as far as I can tell, what it would read like is something to the effect of a 12-year-old girl's diary in middle school, where the boys and the girls are not being nice to her, and she's gonna tell on how everyone says everything about oh well, Stacy hates Tommy and Tommy hates Stacy, and you know what I mean? Like, that's what it reads like to me, or what it probably will read like. I haven't read it, and I won't read this garbage because I know it's just propaganda. It's false. It's all their disinformation and their narrative changing methods. So what they do is they put a book out like this, and then they think that it's going to sway. Because I mean, honestly, I love our country, but there are a lot of people out there who don't have the time to do this research, who don't have the time to sit and watch YouTube videos and to follow these topics and to do the necessary digging to understand that there is fake news, and it's rampant, and it's across all platforms, and it's beyond any scope or reasonable expectation that you could have ever put together in your mind when you think about to yourself how corporations, there's 6 major corporations, and through those major corporations, they administer all the news that we besides independent journalists like myself and others who work through platforms like YouTube, Gab, Twitter, whatever. And then you have maybe some organizations that seem to be, not controlled. But then at the end of the day, they in themselves are they see others having information as an existential threat to themselves. So they're not willing to, be an advocate for freedom of information, freedom of press, because they want to control the press themselves. And we're going to talk about that in a second with a great example from OAM and Jack, or OAN and Jack Posobiec, and their debunking of Q, or their supposed debunking of Q, which we're going to talk about. So that to me is what we have to be cognizant of. We have to be aware of. We have to share that information with one another in order to understand basically that, for instance, what President Trump says about this Woodward book is very interesting. And first, before we talk about that, I just want to take 1 second. This was interesting to me that, we talked yesterday in the video a little bit about, said I wasn't sure about John Kyle. I didn't know how to read or interpret what Q was saying other than to say I'll have to wait and see. And it didn't seem good to me that, he's a friend of, John McCain. I mean, be quite honest. But it seems like President Trump's endorsing John Kyle, and that to me is good enough to basically say I'll give this guy a chance, and we'll watch what he does. And if President Trump says that he's somebody who is an extraordinary senator, then I don't see why I would have any reason to to doubt that based on the fact that I trust the president. And I know people really get on me for that because I actually trust the president. I trust my president. But the reality is I do. And to me, it's just kind of funny that he's giving us the heads up here and he's saying, look, this is great. And that's something we're going to get into in a minute here. But let's start with this. Have Brett Kavanaugh going to the Supreme Court if he is confirmed via the Senate. And that's what I think connects all the way back to this Woodward book. It's all their little game that they play to get ahead of a story that could be negative or affect them negatively. And what Q says is very important. They never thought that she was going to lose. Their plan was to have 3 Supreme Court justices put in by the time Hillary Clinton was about here in her presidency, if she had won. And we dodged a really bad bullet on that one, because that could have really ended a lot of the constitutional rights and the governing principles as we know them if we had this crazy, psychotic, lunatic, liberal, leftist court, socialists and communists running our courts. That would be scary and terrifying to me, especially people who aren't originalists, who aren't following the literal reading of the Constitution, more overly following their own interpretation, I put that in air quotes, of what it means, and based off of their own little ideas and craziness. So to me, people have to understand that we dodged a real bullet there, but this is their little method that they use to put stuff out there. And, that to me is really what they're using against us. But Donald Trump even says it here in how he responds to what they said in that book. So he gives this long written statement from the White House. He gives all these statements from General Kelly, from Sarah Sanders, from James Mattis. So let's read through these things to kind of put into perspective what Bob Woodward wrote in his book, right, where he says that, John Kelly called President Trump basically an idiot behind his back, and that, President Trump called Jeff Sessions a moron, basically. All of these like hearsay, speculation, non-confirmed, and the sources that they're saying say it deny saying it. What more do you need? So here we go. Here's James Mattis's statement. It says, the contemptuous words about the president attributed to me in Woodward's book were never uttered by me or in my presence. While I generally enjoy reading fiction, this is uniquely Washington brand of literature, and his anonymous sources do not lend credibility. Notice how they always use anonymous sources. It says, while responsible policymaking in the real world is inherently messy, it is also essential that we challenge every assumption to find the best option. I embrace such debate and the open competition of ideas. It's just over a year these robust discussions and deliberations have yielded significant results, including the near annihilation of the ISIS caliphate, unprecedented burden sharing by NATO allies, the repatriation of U.S. service member remains from North Korea, and the improved readiness of our armed forces. Our defense policies have also enjoyed overwhelming bipartisan support in Congress. In serving in this administration, the idea that I would show contempt for the elected commander-in-chief, President Trump, or tolerate disrespect to the office of the president from within our Department of Defense is a product of someone's rich imagination. I could not agree more. Now here's John Kelly. What does John Kelly have to say? He says, the idea I ever called the president an idiot is not true. In fact, it's exactly the opposite. As I stated back in May and still firmly stand behind, I spend more time with the president than anyone else, and we have an incredibly candid and strong relationship. He always knows where I stand, and he and I both know this story is total BS. I'm committed to the president, his agenda, and our country. This is another pathetic attempt to smear people close to President Trump and distract from the administration's many successes. That's from Chief of Staff John Kelly. Now we have Press Secretary Sanders. This book is nothing more than fabricated stories, many by former disgruntled employees told to make the president look bad. Omarosa, excuse me, I had to cough there. While it is not always pretty and rare that the press actually covers it, President Trump has broken through the bureaucratic process to deliver unprecedented successes for the American people. Sometimes it is unconventional, but he always gets results. Democrats and their allies in the media understand the president's policies are working, and with success like this, no one can beat him in 2020, not even close. Press Secretary Sarah Sanders. And you even have the president chiming in on this, saying the Woodward book has already been refuted and discredited by General Secretary of Defense Jay Madison, General Chief of Staff John Kelly. Their quotes were made up frauds, a con on the public. Likewise, other stories and quotes. Woodward is a Democratic operative. Notice time. You think that the timing had a little something to do with the fact that CNN and MSNBC and their basically fake news media corporations that they administer to the people didn't want to cover the fact that Judge Kavanaugh was going to be confirmed, and they want to rile the masses, and they want to cause division, they want to cause unrest, they want to cause social disorder and chaos. That is their goal. That's what the fake news media does, and it's very obvious when you watch 5 minutes of their programming, which I can't tolerate without wanting to basically just not even going to say. But that being said, let's say this about Bob Woodward and his book. It's all fiction. It's all fake. Even if there's little pieces of truth in it, that doesn't mean that there's a true storyline that's not completely fabricated fiction. Again, here's Chuck Todd. I tweeted to this guy after he said that he misses the days when people ignored other people's opinions and pretended like they didn't exist and only listened to their news casting overlords on TV like Chuck Todd and others who care more about their salary than they do about reporting news to the American people at whatever cost it may be to themselves. See, that's the one thing that we're missing in the news is people who actually work for the people. They don't work for the people. They work for the corporations. Don't let them fool you for 1 second. And President Trump points this out, rightfully so, saying, Sleepy Eyes Chuck Todd of fake NBC News said it's time for the press to stop complaining and start fighting back. Actually, Chuck, they've been doing that from the day I announced for president. They've gone all out, and I won. And now they're going crazy. And to me, I'll finish that up saying, like a toddler who's had his toys taken away and put to bed at 7 o'clock while it's still sunny out. That is what the mainstream media acts like when it comes to these stories. And again, it says the already discredited Woodward book, So Many Lies and Phony Sources, has me calling Jeff Sessions mentally retarded and a dumb Southerner. I said never use those terms on anyone, including Jeff, and being a Southerner is a great thing. He made this up to divide. Are you surprised that these are the tactics they use against our president and our country? These people are not operatives who are acting, even within the realm of, wanting the best for our country. They want the best for themselves. They want the best for their corporation, their corporate entities. They want the best for the deep state cabal of globalist Luciferian pedophiles that they've been in bed with since the beginning. But hey, there you go. And of course, here we go. Great story out of the AP, just talking about how tomorrow, or today, I guess, we'll be having hearings with who else besides Sheryl Sandberg from Facebook and Jack Dorsey from Twitter. And I wonder how those are going to go. I can only tell you right now that this article reports that Mark Warner is basically, they say, blasting. They use these verbs to get people to pay attention. Google for replying, for basically not showing up to this hearing, and for not replying to, or not coming to this hearing to testify about how they're setting up search engines in China. See, what people don't want to admit, what people don't want to realize is that Google has basically already sold us down the river. Google was funded, started, and made basically by DARPA and the United States military, basically their defense research projects. It was a research project. So is Facebook, so is Google. This has all been, basically something we've been talking about with Q for quite some time now. But now these corporations have gotten so big, and they've basically been able to pay off all the right politicians to say, okay, well, now we've paid off all the politicians, we've screwed your political system, we've ruined your country with our biased and skewed search results and censorship and all of that. Now we're just going to say bye-bye. We're going to go to communist China, which is the the largest emerging market with their billion people they have over there, and they're just going to leave us in the dust. And they're going to take all that technology and all the innovation that came from our hard work here in America, the hard work of American citizens. Now, I know a lot of those citizens came here on visas and did work from other countries and came and worked with us, but the reality is they came to America because they were free to do the work here. And now they're going to steal, remember that word, steal, all of that hard work, all of that innovation, and all of that, and go over to China, and they're just going to transfer that wealth. And that's why we're sanctioning China. That's why we have tariffs, or not sanctioning, I should say tariffs, or imposing tariffs on China. That's why we're going into a trade war with China, because they've stolen almost, I would say, I know it's hundreds of billions, but probably I would say maybe trillions of dollars worth of intellectual property if you look at it in the aggregate. And they've stolen that information from us. They've gone and they have this status as a developing country, the World Trade Organization or whatever, and they get all these benefits, and they game our system. They gamed our politicians. They bought and paid for our politicians. And now there are reports coming out verifying what we talked about the other day about how they were basically receiving real-time updates on Hillary Clinton's emails, which contain classified information, which may or may not have exposed the identities of 18 to 20 CIA agents, assets in China, who were summarily imprisoned or killed after that information was made available to them. This is the sick kind of evil we're dealing with, and it's big. This is like out of a movie big. These are like Superman villains or something. They really believe that they're untouchable and that they're gonna win. And I just pray that we continue to stay on these people and tell them, look, your evil, your traitorism, your treason is not going to stand, and we're going to expose it. So there you go. And now finally this. I'm not going to play this video because it's ridiculous. It's this Jack Posobiec. We all know him, the reporter from One American News. And I've said this before. I never really had anything against Jack, but I don't understand why he's gone so fervently against Q, other than to say that I think I understand why, and I'll tell you about it right now. So in this report, Jack Posobiec provides absolutely no no evidence whatsoever that QAnon is fake, other than to say that he's met a guy. Okay, get this. He knows he met a guy named Microchip. I mean, I'm not making this up. He knows a guy named Microchip, and Microchip claims to be one of the first QAnons. Like, they were there in the beginning, who started QAnon, and Microchip's going to basically expose the whole thing. And but what Microchip basically says is, we were doing it when it was on 4chan, and then some other people took it over. And that's it. That's where the whole story ends. You don't hear a word about the information that's been uncovered, the proofs of Q, the Twitter verifications through President Trump, the other verifications through obvious foreknowledge of events. None of that is touched on, because Jack Posobiec's a liar and a fraud, in my opinion. And I'll say that because when I watch him speak and give this, he doesn't give any evidence. He says, I had a conversation with Microchip, and Microchip told me that it's pamphleted on, and that it's the Patriots soapbox, and that it's, these people are the ones who are QAnon. And you're just sitting there thinking to yourself, this is a news report made for people who don't follow QAnon. This is made for people who have no idea what it is to try to keep them away from it. Now, why would Jack Posobiec have a vested interest in keeping people away from Q? Well, as he says in his report, he thinks QAnon is dangerous. He says it flat out. He says it's dangerous. He says the guy who went to the Hoover Dam and barricaded himself on there with the Q poster is dangerous, and that people said they've heard voices to do harm to others. And I'm just thinking to myself, is that you have two examples of why Q is dangerous. So now it's starting to sound more like he's just another part of the echo chamber where, we get the hundreds of articles that have come out, thousands probably at this point, that say we're deranged conspiracy theorists, and we think Trump's a secret genius, and we're Pizzagate on bath salts. That's what we've been called, okay? And he's just literally fanning the flames of it all with his little interview of Microchip that says that shows that they had a conversation back in August of 2017 where they were talking about what they were going to do to make QAnon. Now, again, there's not one mention in this whole piece about military intelligence, about how that's involved, about, like I said, the verifications via Twitter from Trump, about the numerous examples of foreknowledge, about the pictures that could not have that don't exist on the internet of places and times and giving us insight into things. There's no mention of any of that. All it is Microchip told me that QAnon's fake and you shouldn't watch it or look at it because it's all a hoax. Well, you know what is a hoax? The Russia investigation. And you know what is a hoax? Jack Posobiec's journalistic endeavor into investigating Q, because I don't see one shred of evidence in his reporting that would lead me to believe that QAnon's fake. As a matter of fact, the only thing this piece, as I watch it, really does do is it makes me wonder why Jack Posobiec is so anti-Q, first. And then secondly, who is he working for? And third, is it interesting to anyone else that he was in the intelligence service under Obama? And he goes straight from that, and he gets kicked out, basically, and for leaking information on Twitter. So this guy is not only an Obama a disciple out of the intelligence agency, he's also a leaker, leaking classified information via Twitter. That's what the report says, at least. So this guy is pretty much as untrustworthy as it gets. And what does he do? The first thing he does is he goes and he becomes a little minion of Alex Jones, and then he moves straight from being a minion of Alex Jones to this One America News job. And what did he do before that? Again, he was an intelligence officer under the Obama administration. And he gets kicked out for leaking classified information on Twitter. So that's what I've heard. That's what the stories say. That's what all the reports say. And I can tell you right now that I've reached out to Jack. I asked him for a response on this via Twitter, and he has not responded to me. And you know what? The reality is that's fine. He doesn't have to respond. This is, in my opinion, a piece of fake news. And I encourage you all to watch it for yourself if you want. But, I watched it myself, and it didn't change me at all. And you know what the best part is if you read through all the comments, like I even left my own little comment here, but it's so funny. Like everyone on here, fraud. How much are the crooks paying you? Sell out. Guy, like you guys are gonna win. Have you checked the math? And it's like, oh please. And it says I am subscribed after Wheeler was praising McCain. It says it says laughing my whatever off, and it says Q is real. Saying like the I'm Q, like the I'm whatever it is, I'm Spartacus, that moment from that movie. And then it's just all this stuff talking about how, I mean, you don't even know. Like, I'm not even cherry picking these. These are just all of the first comments. They're all, they must discredit Q. Q has been claimed by every YouTuber on it. Jack is a dweeb. This is crapola, or doesn't know crapola. Jack has no credibility. I mean, look, this is it. Guys, this is the reality. They want to control the narrative. In my opinion, when they put out a piece like this, they realize that not only are we getting better information than they do as a news organization, which probably really upsets them, but at the same time, they're literally having to figure out how to adapt to the fact that the TV that you watch, that cable, and where they put their whole network and sunk millions of dollars into building studios and hiring people, it's all going to be obsolete in a few years. YouTube, internet media, the fact that I can do this at a fraction, I mean, a half of a fraction of what it costs One American News to make content, and I can get almost a comparable audience with hundreds of thousands of views, millions a month, and millions, tens of millions of impressions, and they spent millions of dollars for that, and I spent almost nothing compared to that. So to me, that's what terrifies them. They realize that the citizen journalist is going to overtake the mainstream media narrative. And that is what terrifies them. They're working with antiquated tools, antiquated platforms, and there is no way for them to do anything other than to try to discredit movements online that would basically dethrone them from their little power positions of controlling your thought and what you think and what you do. So, like I said, you guys come watch it. Microchip. I mean, like, really? And if you listen in this interview, Microchip's voice is so funny. It's like they use a voice scrambler, and it's like, I didn't want my identity to be revealed because I am, I didn't want to be associated, but now I can't hold my tongue. It's gotten dangerous. And you're like, this guy is literally I don't even want to say it. Who knows what it is? I mean, I don't know. Microchip is, it's a name, of a thing. That's about all I can. He's the QAnon founder, though. So apparently Microchip is the QAnon founder with Pamphlet Anon. And I even asked Jack when I wrote him, I said, so you think it's Pamphlet Anon, so you keep saying it's Pam. Have you explained how Pam has access to President Trump's Twitter? Of course, I haven't heard a thing back. It's been all crickets on that end. But yeah, this is what we're up against. This is the disinformation. That is the literal fake news. So welcome to the machine. So that is basically it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Stick around. We're going to talk about a few things really quick. Very important stuff, as always. If you guys want to support the channel, come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications. Also, share these links and leave your thoughts, theories, and insights in the comments, because we try to have our own QAnon research board at the end of each one of these videos where we don't just talk about Q posts, we talk about the mainstream media, politics, culture, and religion, everything in between. Obviously, that's what they're afraid of, not just the ones that we know, obviously, are mainstream media fake news like CNN and all that, but then little subsets that are trying to control the narrative, basically being controlled opposition like OAN, Fox News, and others. Because don't forget, no matter what, they want to have control on the information that is released. That's what it comes down to. So, that being said, another way to help, come find me on Twitter at Justin_formed. Come find me on Twitter at Justin_formed. Give me a shout out, hit the follow button, all that good stuff. Also, all my articles and videos get posted here automatically, so you can come here, you can get all those updates, and I really appreciate that, so thank you. Another thing, come over here and check out justinformednews.com. It's a new website. I've launched it, and now this is kind of the beta test. We're still working out a lot of kinks. Thank you to everybody who has contributed. I've reached back out to a select few people about writing articles and contributing content. There's actually been some pretty... you're all very great, but there's been some pretty impressive people with impressive backgrounds who want to contribute to this website. And like I said, this website for now, I'm trying to keep it really streamlined, really easy to use, no pop-ups, advertisements, all that stuff. So you can come use this site and don't worry about, you're not going to have any problems with that. It's just a tool for you guys, and I want you guys to use it and come get involved. The site is still developing. We're still building out some of the features on it. So if some of the things are a little clunky and don't work, and I have a lot of messages. You guys don't even know. I have so many messages. I'm trying to get back to each and every one of you, but the reality is that if I don't get back to you and you're asking me a question about the website, just trust me. I've read what you've said. I've read everything, and I'm fixing it. I'm working on it, but it's a lot of work. So thank you so much for all of that great input and all of your great help. Another thing, I'm going to keep plugging this because I think it's a great cause, and I may or may not be at this exact event. I'm trying to work out the logistics and get my schedule right so I can make it. But this is the American Priority Conference. This is what we talked about. It was supposed to be happening basically tomorrow through the 8th of September, but now it's been pushed back to December 6th through 8th. There's going to be all types of great people there. I mean, we're talking about, and even people we disagree with, that's a big thing. You can't, like, even as much as I, kind of railed Jack Posobiec, to be able to sit down with somebody and have a conversation, that's progress. That's not to say that, I don't ever want to see that person or talk to that person. If these people show up that we know, or, anti-Q or whatever, that is fine. That's what it's about. We have a conversation. We say, well, what about this? Well, what about that? And then they'll say, okay, well, this and that. And you have to have a conversation. You have to have dialogue. So I encourage you to come here. Check out the AmericanPriority.com website. You can get all the information you need about the conference. That'll be December 6th through 8th in Washington, D.C. at the Marriott Wardman Park Hotel. So if you want more information on that, again, go to AmericanPriority.com. So that being said, if you want to help out the channel, there's 2 more ways you can do it, and it's financially, and it helps out big time. You can come over here to Patreon, patreon.com, and you can search Just Informed Talk, or go to patreon.com/justinformedtalk. When you come here to this page, just click this button to become a patron. It's a monthly donation, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And you guys got to understand, that's what the fuel that keeps this channel running every single day, 24/7, 365. So I'm always able to bring you the newest content, and we've built a really great platform here. So let's just keep making it better, and I'm going to keep relying on your support and relying on you guys to guide me and push me in the right direction. Also, if you want to make a one-time, you're not into the whole monthly donation thing, I totally understand. That's why I started this GoFundMe page. It's just gofundme.com/just-informed. Again, gofundme.com/just-informed. You come here, you click this button, you can make a one-time donation, you can make an anonymous donation, you can make an anonymous one-time donation. This is for people who want to contribute, and I just put it up there. So I'm thankful for everybody who comes and makes that contribution. Now, before we go, we're going to talk about the most important thing. And I always save the best for last. But this is about how we can lift each other up and what God kind of prompts us to do for one another in life. And that is, to me, an important thing, because we all have family, we all have friends, we all have, those near us who we want to help and uplift, but we should, as Christians, take it to the next step if we can, and try to do it for as many people as we can. Now, we're not perfect. We're going to stumble. It's not going to be easy, but remember that the best gift is not in receiving, but in giving it itself. And that is something that we should live by, a principle. But I want to share this little piece of scripture from Galatians chapter 6, verse 1 and forward. And it talks about carrying one another's burdens. And when I read this, it really stood out to me as something that I think we should all hear so that we know how to help one another. It says, "Brothers, if someone is caught in any wrongdoing, you who are spiritual should restore such a person with a gentle spirit, watching out for yourselves so you won't be tempted also. Carry one another's burdens. In this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. For if anyone considers himself to be something when he is nothing, he is deceiving himself. But each person should examine his own work, and then he will have a reason for boasting in himself alone and not in respect to someone else. For each person will have to carry his own load. The one who is taught the message must share his goods with the teacher. Don't be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, he will also reap. Because the one who sows to his flesh will reap corruption from the flesh, but the one who sows to the Spirit will reap eternal life from that Spirit. So we must not get tired of doing good, for we will reap at the proper time if we don't give up. Therefore, as we have opportunity, we must work for the good of all, especially for those who belong to the household of faith." Wow. I know for me in my life, that speaks to me so loudly. And what stands out to me is that we must help one another. We must realize that that is what God puts us here for. And in helping one another, we actually are helping ourselves, and we are contributing to our spirit. And that is so much more valuable and important than contributing to the flesh. And the difference is that when you contribute to the flesh, you're not doing something for God. You're not glorifying God. You're not putting. Now, I'm sure there's examples that I'm sure people could draw, but the point is that if you're not working for the Spirit, then you could have the most beautiful flesh and the most wonderful, you know, uh, cars and houses, whatever. But it wouldn't matter because you're not building that character, that character that God wants us to have, where we give to one another, where we understand that everything here on earth is but a blip, and it's all temporary, and the eternal life that we have in front of us is far more important. So giving to others, meaning if you have the opportunity to help pick someone up and give them a second chance and push them in the right direction and give them an opportunity to maybe succeed and give them that insight while giving them the great message of God, while sharing that beautiful grace of God, and saying, to them, I'm helping you, but I'm only able to help you because God has helped me become able. And recognizing that and living that and just basically putting that in your life. That's what we all have to do, I believe. And I try to do it myself every single day. And I hope that you guys take that message away, that, it's about helping others. It's about being there for one another. And it's about giving to those in order to sow into our own spirit a great harvest that we can reap with our eternal life. So that's where I'm going to leave it. I want to say thank you for watching. Again, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, now's a great time to do it. Come here, click the big red subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications. Also, don't be afraid to come check out justinformednews.com and let me know what you think, and let me know all your insight on what's going on here. I really appreciate it, and I'm thankful for it. So that's going to be it from me. I want to say thank you for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.